All right. Here we go, chat. So, hope everyone's doing well today. We're gonna report. We're gonna report. What the fuck am I talking about? We're gonna record. We're gonna record a little new YouTube video. I need to attempt not to say the F word is going on YouTube. I'm glad you're doing well. So we're gonna record a little YouTube video here. Um, we're gonna talk about the new Bloodhunt changes. So we're gonna move our webcam down. This is a first for me, chat. I'm not gonna lie to you. Recording a YouTube video on first, but it's something that a lot of we're gonna try it out. What is Facebook? Facebook. Facebook? Oh, that's a song. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about Bloodhunt. All right. Hello, YouTube. How y'all doing today? Hope you're all doing well. This is a little different. I'm recording this on stream, so this is a little different than normal. But we're gonna talk about the Bloodhunt changes today. So, let's sort of start out with I guess like what they start with, but I have played this. I wanted to give a review of these changes and my opinion on them after I had already played the changes for a little bit. I've got about 10 to 15 hours on them about 2 days later. Point is, 2 days later, I've got a solid few hours on these changes, and I think I have enough time on them and enough experience with them in order to give my opinion on how they feel and what I think. I also have a little bit personal anecdote talking to a dev that give me a little more confidence in this game, and we'll talk about that at the end. So make sure to stay through the whole thing if you want to find out the important stuff. So, this update does not contain optimizations for any of those that are looking for optimizations, and that's what you're waiting for right now. Those aren't there quite yet. The devs are working on those, but those are not something that they cannot release. Those are something that they cannot release just yet. They're working on them, but they're not here yet, so that's an important thing to remember. So first, it improved respawn/revive mechanics. So we noticed that players had a tough time understanding how respawn works, so we took time to add a few things in that we hope will increase players using it. We've improved the feedback loop of when dead players are able to respawn in a group match by reminding eliminated players they can still be respawned by teammates. So you can talk in voice chat or group chat or whatever and let them know. The teammate's health bar will also be there, let you know if they're revived. So if you have a dead teammate and you're alive still, it'll tell you in the bottom left where their health bar is. This teammate can be revived. And they've also added activation VFX. It's really nice because sometimes you weren't certain if the revive went off or not. It would just sit there. Now it does like a little whoosh. It does like a little whoosh upwards sort of thing, and then sort of disappears and your teammates respawn where the spot is. This was a really good change. When I played squads with randoms, people would very often leave right after they died because they didn't understand the respawn, or me and my friend would die while playing, and we would be sitting there trying to get them to respawn, and they just had no clue what we were talking about. So this was a really good change. I think this will be really good for the health of the game, and this will help a lot of players out. Climbing. This is a really good change for controller players. There's now an option to not have to hold the jump button when climbing walls. To start climbing, you just need to be in the air and hold forward. It's active as default on controllers since it lets you look around more easily, but can be activated with a mouse and keyboard setup as well. This change, not great for mouse and keyboard. If you're on mouse and keyboard and you're already used to holding spacebar, just keep holding spacebar. I'd say you're used to it. It's the normal controls for you. It's what you're used to. Keep playing on that. No biggie. But for controller players, this is a really big change because for a controller player, it's a struggle to run up to a wall and hold A without sort of messing that up because of how a controller works, right? It makes it a lot harder for controller players to climb because they have to sit there and hold A, and the only way you can hold A and use your right stick to look around while climbing a wall is if you're claw gripping, which I personally claw grip on the controller, but majority of players, I don't play controller obviously, but majority of players who play controller don't claw grip necessarily because it's uncomfortable for a lot of them. They've changed the Elysium. If you're interested in lore, these are some interesting changes. They added a few new characters, changed up the Elysium a bit, stuff like that. Personally, I don't care too much for lore, so this isn't a big change for me. But I think it's really good for people who do care about the lore, people who want to see that story develop. This is something really interesting that will keep you sort of invested in what's going on and in developing in the story. They've added a new quest as well in order to get some skins and to add to some of the story. So if you want to do that, hop in and get that done. They've opened the Rudolphinium Concert Hall. If you don't know where that is, I can pull up a Bloodhunt map. The Rudolphinium is right over here, like middle left of the map. So if you want to go there and check it out, they opened this whole building up. You can now go inside and fight in it. I haven't done it yet because I've just been running my routes or whatever, having fun with friends. But it looked really cool from everything I've seen of it. Being able to fight inside, I think it's really good that they're adding more interior fighting areas. I think they're good for escaping, for outplaying people, and allowing new players to sort of do more with the game. Multiple new journal entries. Once again, more lore stuff. You want to go ahead and unlock them. Great for you. Great for lore. Personally, I'm not super interested in lore, so I haven't looked into this a ton. The improved dialogue transition, just a quality of life change. Performance indicators. These are really important. For those of you who don't really know tech, we're going to sort of talk about these, but these are really important to know because this will tell you if your issues you've had with your game performance-wise are on your end or if they're on the game's end. So let's start off with low FPS. This means you're having performance issues in your computer, with your computer being unable to draw the image of the game at a desired frame rate. Basically, your computer specs are not good enough to run the game at the proper frames per second. You're not getting the right number of frames showing up on your screen to show you what's going on in time, basically. It's screwing up how your game feels. Lower frames, worse feeling, basically. It feels laggier. Latency variation. This means you're having difficulties with maintaining a steady ping. This could result in your enemies seemingly teleporting with the game or otherwise. So, this one is if your internet connection isn't 100% stable, you're going to be teleporting around a little bit, getting stuttering, jumping backwards a little bit. Basically just means you need to get better internet, better connection, wired, something like that. Something that will fix your internet, whether it's restarting it, upgrading it, whatever number of things, you're having internet connection issues. It basically means you're stuttering on connection, right? Your connection peaking and dropping. Latency means you're under the threshold of the accepted latency for Bloodhunt. This game may still work, but you may experience multiple side effects like your shots and hits not connected properly. Basically, connection-wise, your game is behind, right? You're behind like a second. You have like 70 millisecond delay or something, right? Because you're behind on connection. Also, these are the symbols, by the way, just saying. So if you want to look at these while I'm talking about it. Server FPS. This means the Bloodhunt server itself is unable to keep up with the desired amount of data that it needs to track per second. This means it's not on your end, it's on their end. The servers cannot keep up with your game and what it's running at. So don't worry about that one if it's popping up on if you want to get off whatever, right? But don't worry about yourself if that's what's happening. Refresh rate. When this warning shows you're not utilizing the maximum refresh rate of your screen and thus not getting the best possible gameplay experience, go check your video settings and increase the refresh rate and options menu in Bloodhunt to match that of your screen. Applicable on screens that support refresh rates higher than 60 Hz. This means you didn't mess with your settings enough and you're running like a 144 Hz monitor, which means that it's 144 frames a second visually, and you're running the game at 60 Hz. You're getting 60 frames per second. So this just means going up your graphics settings because you could be playing the game at higher frames. Packet loss. This means that the data packets that are sent from the server to your game client or vice versa to keep track of everything that's going on in the game are getting lost on the way. Packet loss means that the server is unable to give your game client the full information on what's going on, and the game client will have to make some predictions, usually not in your favor. This one could be on either end. Most of the time, it's your connection. You're having issues. You're dropping upload or download on your internet. Check your internet speed at ookla.com or whatever. If your internet is fine and it's doing great on other games, likelihood is it's on their end, their servers, or you're in a weird region or something. Overall, these are good to know because they'll tell you what is going on, whether it's your connection, your PC, your spec, your setting, any number of things. They just help you identify any issues and help fix what you can. That's just talking about the Halloween questline. Now, here's when we get to the important stuff, the balance changes. These are the things that I have the most to say about and I think are really important. So, the first nerf they talk about here is the Nosferatu Banish. So this is the invisibility that a lot of people were complaining about. They decreased the maximum speed by 9.2%, so almost a 10% decrease, and they reduced the duration from 1.4 seconds to 1.25. So I'm going to be very vocal about this. I think this change is really bad. I think this change is unnecessary, and I think it is far too large of a nerf to the Nosferatu. And here's why. The Nosferatu, comparative to the other characters that have abilities for engagement, right? We're excluding the Siren, or we're excluding the Muse here. Sorry, we're excluding the Muse here because the Muse doesn't have an engage or disengage ability. It is a support character. So that is a separate category. However, the Vandal, the the Vandal, the Brute, and the Siren all have engage abilities that have crowd control. They all stop you from moving or slow you from moving or any number of things to basically stop you from getting away. The Nosferatu is giving that up. The Nosferatu has a reveal, and the Nosferatu has a disengage, the invis. Or it's not the Nosferatu, sorry, the Prowler. Saboteur is different, obviously, gas bomb. But the Nosferatu are giving up a crowd control ability in order to have a disengage to get away rather than engage get in. It's very easy to beam someone if they're trying to engage you with this ability. It is more of a disengage than an engage. So you are inherently nerfing the character far too much with this change. They also changed other things, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but this change affects the Prowler and the Saboteur far too much, in my opinion. I think it was too much of a change. It was too radical. And this change needs to either be reverted or reduced down more. I think their duration needs to not be reduced. If you're going to reduce the maximum speed, don't reduce the duration. If you're going to reduce the duration, don't reduce the maximum speed. I think those are reducing both of those reduces the power of this ability to a very low amount. You have to be a very good player now to use this ability, from my experience. The Saboteur, they decrease the crouch time to trigger the invisibility that they get, the partial invisibility from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. Not a big deal. I don't think this does much. Makes it a little easier for new players to sort of hide in a corner or something. No big deal. And here's why I think the invis change was too much of a nerf, because they also nerfed the Prowler's bat. The little bats that people throw out that reveal you and throw the red, they nerfed this also, and I think this was too much of a nerf to the character. I think the character is significantly worse. I still play it because I still enjoyed this playstyle, but I think this made the character far less powerful than almost every other character in the game, almost every other clan. So they say Scouting Famulus. This is just the bats that you throw out that reveal people. They increase the cooldown from 16 seconds to 22 seconds. It now only lasts when you leave it. Originally, the reveal would fade after 5 seconds. Now it goes away after 1 second. So it's a lot harder to track people. You know they're in that area now. And the radius was also decreased. So this was inherently the issue with Prowler, this ability right here, because you could force someone off of a zone, you could force someone off of an area without doing anything. You were putting pressure on someone just by throwing this at them, and by leading it for 5 seconds, it allowed you to chase far too easily. But by nerfing the invisibility and this, you have fundamentally made this character far worse than it needs to be, especially considering that the Vandal has 2 engage abilities, and the Brute has an engage and a push away ability that shields them. Those characters, along with having an 100 health regen and a close damage reduction, a close range damage reduction, makes them far too powerful. Part of the Nosferatu's power, part of the reason the Nosferatu could be playable was because you could disengage from a Vandal and get away when they went for their slam, or you could get away from their close range damage reduction, and that was a counterplay to their ability. That was really important, and their nerfs make it significantly harder to do either of these things. The Vandal has a slam that full CCs. I'm very vocal about this. I hate that the Vandal slam disables you from doing anything. I could understand if the Vandal slam would prevent you from using abilities, because then there would be no point in it. You'd slam them up, they'd instantly invis or teleport away or whatever. Number of things to get away. But at least let me shoot back at someone. The number of fights I've lost from 120 HP because when I had the other person at 10 HP because they slam, I cannot do anything, and they shoot me once with their shotgun and they win the fight. It's extremely unfair and extremely unbalanced. The Nosferatu need to be able to get away from these abilities that CC for that reason. They need to have some kind of counterplay, and reducing the speed makes it so I can't even avoid the slam in the first place. It makes it so I can't even avoid the giant throw in the first place. I can't avoid a lot of these things by that damage reduction. It makes it extremely hard to play. The Blinding Beauty screen effect now has a classic white. So this is for the Siren, by the way, the flashbang. The screen effect now has a classic white flashbang effect appear, which then gradually starts fading. Sorry. That gradually starts fading. This was always the intended behavior, which is good. The Siren is reasonable now. I think that if it's going to have this flashbang, I think it's a little more powerful than it should be now. I think there needs to be no reduction of your movement speed, because now the issue is that they slow you down. You can't see anything. It's 2 free shotgun shots. They win. GG. You can't even move. I think this ability needs to work as just a flashbang, and then once the flashbang hits you, you cannot see anything, but you can still move around and still strafe and things to get away. Pump shotgun. Reload is now available sooner after firing. It took a long time to reload after firing. I don't think this is the issue with the shotgun, though. The issue with the shotgun is that it can two-shot people, which is far too powerful for a shotgun, considering that shotguns are peak weapons. They are not close-range weapons. A lot of people are saying that this is balanced because shotguns need to be able to win in a standing still fight against an SMG. That's not true. An SMG has to commit to a fight. A shotgun has the ability to not commit to a fight. The shotgun has the ability to peek out from a ledge, take a shot, hit you for 80, for 90, for 100, whatever amount of damage, and then unpeek. The damage on the shotgun, in my opinion, should be capped at 90. It should never be able to two-shot anyone. It's extremely overpowered. Crossbow, I still think crossbow needs to either have the gas removed and just needs to be a projectile sniper that's extremely rewarding and hits for like 200 damage or like 190 damage or whatever. It just needs to be an extremely rewarding but difficult to use sniper, in my opinion, or it needs to be removed from the game. Headshot multiplier reduced from 2 to 1.75. This really isn't that big of a change. It did around 160 before, 150. Now it does, what, 120, 110? Point is, it still does around 100 damage, which is an insane amount of damage for this weapon to deal to the head, along with the gas dealing extra damage. They reduced the damage per second from 25 to 16. It helps a little, but it's really not that different. It's just less abusable for a bad player. Good players can still abuse this just as much. You can still get someone out of an area. If someone's on the ground, you still win the fight just because they can't do anything. They cannot approach you. They cannot run away. There's no way for someone on the ground to get away from the crossbow. It's over if they have the low ground. Initial area damage reduced from 20 to 4. That wasn't that big of a deal in the first place. And they reduced the gas radius. This weapon is still far too rewarding for a bad player, and it's just inherently not good for the game. Dual crossbows, they made them better. They upped the mag size from 246 to 468 for green, blue, purple. So 4 shots in the green, 6 shots in the blue, 8 shots in the purple now. The explosion radius, the explosion damage max is now 2 meters instead of 1 meter, but still drops off after that. The max range remains the same, but it should feel more consistent. Sniper rifle reload is now available sooner. I think this is a good change. Sniper, I'm going to be vocal about this once again. Sniper, in my opinion, needs to not be hit scan. This weapon is genuinely going to be a problem. This weapon either needs to not be hit scan or needs to have damage and range drop off. I've had people snipe me from literally halfway across the map on a big building for 160 in the head mid-fight, and I just die because they managed to hit me from across the map for free. Melee weapons, they buff melee weapons. They increase the size of the hitboxes just so that they hit more often. Certain weapons now feel extremely powerful. The bat feels like it has way too much range and hits way too far above you. Other weapons, not as much, but they feel they feel like they hit double the range of what they should. I'm not sure about this one yet. I haven't had much experience with melee. We'll see in the future how that feels. They lowered the amount of entity soldiers that spawn per location in group play. This still needs to be changed overall. The entities still have too much damage output and still are too much of aimbots. I've gone from 150 to 0 in a second. Like, literally a second I've died to the entity. Just because I dropped down in the area. Not even near them. This is a good change. Entity crates no longer drop blue weapons, only purple and gold now. That was a good change. It was not worth going for the entity crates because they just randomly would not reward you. Clear colors on outlines, especially in heightened sentence and low quality settings, increase legibility by changing the size of various text. This was actually a really good change. The red outline on people is a lot brighter and a lot easier to see. Before it was kind of a dark red, but this is a lot easier to see. There's a lot more visibility. I really like this change, actually. They fixed the bugs, so for any of you who are having these bugs, these are the bugs they fixed. They fixed an issue with tutorial having significantly slow fire rate for automatic weapons and in multiplayer. Fixed an issue that could cause the player unable to open the Elysium menu and pressing escape after having opened the battle pass. Fixed a bug that could cause ranged weapons to disappear when reloading. This was a really big bad bug. So you can now reload your weapons and just swap a weapon and don't have to worry about it getting deleted. The challenge that requires players to cause damage with assault rifle no longer requires a purple assault rifle. I guess that was a glitch I didn't notice. Journal entries now properly unlock after interacting with the Primogens, so the characters around the Elysium. Swapping an LMG with an SMG no longer causes the weapons to teleport onto the floor. They improved the Diablerie animations to decrease the risk of getting stuck inside a wall. So if you were having issues getting stuck inside a wall when getting interrupted Diablerizing someone, you should be fine now. They fixed an issue with gamepads, so controllers that were causing flickering or missing button prompts in the game menu and inventory. I know people who had this issue, so this is a good fix. Added missing information in the journal regarding gold weapons. So these are upgrade stats. They basically filled in the gaps on upgrade stats. Fixed the Prague 2.0 outfit. So a bunch of you thought they were selling the original outfit for money. No, it was just a visual glitch. This fixed it. And they increased the level of detail for character models. Fixed a few areas where characters were it was possible for players to go out of bounds, and several crash fixes. They have some known issues here where people run into performance issues even if they meet the requirements. The game may not run if you're on Komodo or Intego antivirus. Facial hair may not render. It's currently not possible to complete the place in top X. We hope you will like these compliments. As always, see you at dusk. So, we've discussed the changes. These definitely help the game. Bloodhunt is going in the right direction. I spoke with some of the devs, and they've told me about some things that really excited me. They're looking into competitive play. They're looking into getting some good players up there. They're looking at promoting streamers and stuff. So I definitely have faith for this game in the future. My faith was a little shaken, but after these updates and the devs, saying we're aware of these things, we're working on them, and we're trying to be better. One of the devs I spoke to said they're very aware of what happened to both Hyperscape and Realm Royale. So if you're worried about this game because you're one of those games players, relax a little bit. They're aware of what happened, what went wrong there, and they're trying to be better than those games. They're trying to do better. I'm really excited for the future of this game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to come back next week or the week after for another video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys, peace out.